History is written by the victors, but sometimes its most poignant tales are whispered through the lives of the forgotten. This is the story of an empire's end, seen through the eyes of a child. This is the story of Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of Rome. Our story begins not with a bang, but with a whisper. Rome was dying. Its breath was shallow, its heart weak, poisoned by a century of civil war, corruption and invasion. Its legions were ghosts, scattered and broken. Its treasury was a hollowed-out cavern. In a final desperate act of denial, the city that once ruled the world did something truly remarkable. It chose a boy to watch. It died. They called him Romulus Augustulus, a grand name for such a small child. Romulus, after the city's mythical founder, Augustulus, a diminutive of Augustus, the first and greatest emperor. It was a name heavy with legacy, a cruel joke for a boy who couldn't even lift a legionary's shield. At 12 years old, he was thrust onto the most dangerous stage in the world, the throne of the Western Roman Empire. Imagine the scene. The Senate chamber, once a place of giants like Cicero and Caesar, now filled with squabbling, overdressed men. They argued over titles, taxes, and trivialities, their voices echoing in the cavernous hall. And in the center of it all, on a throne too large for his small frame, sat Romulus. While they debated the fate of an empire, he would doodle pictures of birds on scraps of parchment, a child lost in a world of aging men playing pretend. His crown, a masterpiece of gold and jewels, was so heavy it would often slip down over his eyes, plunging his world into a glittering darkness. The court officials would rush to fix it, bowing deeply, their faces masks of solemn respect. But Romulus saw the truth in their hurried glances. They bowed to the crown, not the boy beneath it. His father, a powerful general named Orestes, was the true power behind the throne. He was the one who had orchestrated this entire charade, believing a puppet emperor was easier to control. Romulus was a symbol, a living statue meant to project an image of stability that no longer existed. He would sit through endless meetings, the drone of voices a lullaby of doom. Generals with tired eyes and dented armor would report of lost territories and mutinous troops. Senators would deliver grand speeches about the glory of Rome, their words as empty as the coffers. Romulus understood little of their politics, but he understood the fear in their eyes. He saw the cracks in the marble, felt the chill in the air. He was the emperor of a ghost. Outside the palace walls, the world was burning. From the north, a new storm was gathering. A man named Odoacer, a barbarian general of immense charisma and quiet strength, had united the disgruntled Germanic soldiers within Rome's own army. They had been promised land in payment for their service, promises that the bankrupt empire could no longer keep. Odoacer didn't shout or rage. His power was in his stillness, his inevitability. He was not a wild invader. He was the consequence. The news came in whispers at first, then in panicked shouts. Odoacer was marching on Ravenna, the capital of the West. The Senate, so bold in their chambers, fell silent. The generals, so cynical, simply shrugged. There were no legions to call, no grand strategy to deploy. The empire's immune system had finally failed. The end wasn't a climactic battle. It was a slow, quiet surrender. One day, a messenger, breathless and pale, burst into the throne room. He fell to his knees before Romulus, and with a trembling voice, uttered the words that would dissolve an empire. "They are at the gates." There was no dramatic score, no call to arms, just a suffocating silence. The senators, those men of great words, began to quietly slip away, their fine robes rustling like dry leaves. The guards at the doors, sworn to protect the emperor with their lives, simply dropped their spears and walked away. They were just men who wanted to see their families one more time. Soon, the great hall was empty. It was just Romulus, alone on his golden throne, the last emperor of Rome. The massive doors creaked open, and in walked Odoacer. He wasn't the monster from Roman nightmares. He was a tall man, calm and composed, his armor practical, not ceremonial. He walked not as a conqueror, but as a man simply arriving for an appointment. He approached the throne and looked at the boy. There was no anger in his eyes, only a sort of weary pity. He didn't say a word. He simply reached out and gently, almost tenderly, lifted the crown from Romulus's head. In that moment, 1,000 years of Roman imperial rule came to an end. The crown was removed. The illusion was over. Everyone expected an execution. That was the Roman way. Losers did not survive, but Odoacer was not a Roman. He looked at the pale, trembling child and saw not an emperor, but just a boy. He spared him. Romulus was not killed but exiled. He was sent to a beautiful villa by the sea in the Bay of Naples, given a comfortable home and a generous pension. And so, the final irony of the Western Roman Empire was written. The city fell, the legions vanished, the Senate scattered, the eagle standards were packed away, but the boy, the last emperor, survived. He traded a heavy crown for seashells, a crumbling palace for a sandy shore. He spent the rest of his days not as Augustulus the emperor, but simply as Romulus. He played by the sea, feeling the sun on his face, free at last. The empire died, the child lived, and perhaps in the end that was the only victory that truly mattered.